Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. As always, you can find us here on our website at vsmoviepodcast.com. You can find us on iTunes and on Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, any place you want to hit us up, we're going to be there. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, VS Movie Podcast, and enjoy the episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. I'm Mark. That's Ryan. Hi Ryan.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Let's talk about real quick what we did this weekend because we didn't watch movies. We watched movie Stars.
Sure.
At Salt Lake FanX. Lots and lots of stars. Probably the headliner. I'll call the headliner Zachary Levi.
Sure.
But we had a lot of good guests on this Fandango. My personal favorite was John Cleese, because you might be a Potterhead, but I'm a Python head, so that's where I'm at. 2-day event as opposed to 3 that we have in the fall. We've seen a lot of these. I believe we talked about last fall and some of the things that didn't go right during that event. 2 days, pretty busy.
Yeah.
How do you think it ran? From a fan standpoint.
I think the people who were there had fun.
The guests?
Well, no, I mean guests and fans.
The attendee. Okay.
Yeah. I think I didn't hear any major issues. Not that I always hear major issues, but everything seemed to function fairly well. I didn't hear about anyone being too late or photo lines getting too horrendous or anything along those lines.
No, I don't think anything more than expected for certain celebrities.
Sure.
The mix was really nice. We had some Disney voice actors, Pocahontas, Irene Bedard. We had Red Dead Redemption, Roger Clark. We had 3 from The Office. We had 2 from Lucifer. We had a couple from Harry Potter, including Warwick Davis, who actually, by the way, what a sweet man that is.
Yeah.
He's a sweetheart. Nobody said word one about him bad that I listened to. Everyone was like, oh my God, he was so wonderful. And he was when we went up there. I know you were coordinating your day job troupe of people.
Yeah.
But did you get to do anything that you were happy as a fan? Did you get to see, not the panels you moderated, did you get to see a panel that you really were looking forward to? Did you see a guest that you were really, I know you deal with some of them offline, but did you have a fan second where you were just like, yep, that was worth it?
Did I have that moment? No, I mean, the one would be associated with the panel I did. One of the panels, Ty Sheridan did a really, really great panel, partially because the audience was really, really good and had a really diverse amount of questions to ask that wasn't necessarily just X-Men or Ready Player One. So that was nice. And I think that he appreciated that as well. I mean, the way I think working as a professional at these events is slightly different in that I don't really get to do necessarily everything that I want to do or what appeals to me the most. I bounce from one thing to the next, making sure that web team's doing this or that and setting up live shots and, So the con to me is probably a radically different thing than it is to most people. But, I didn't get to do much at all Saturday. Pretty much everything I did was Friday. But that, again, that's a lot because of work. But I had an okay time. The guest list for me wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't a bad list, if that makes sense.
No, because not every guest is in every fan's wheelhouse.
Sure, and I would have liked to talk to Warwick Davis. Sure, that's the one thing maybe from this one that I'll walk away kind of missing. But he's around. I've seen him at Star Wars Celebration. He's really entertaining. Initially it looked like we were going to get an interview with him, but then he turned out to be so popular that he didn't have time. Which, if you're going to back out of an interview, being popular is probably the one thing that I completely understand. No, I don't understand at all.
That's better than having a guest who's unhappy and leaving early.
Absolutely no. So he was pretty busy the entire time. You know, it was kind of fun to do a live interview with Alice Cooper, because that was very unexpected and kind of came together very, very quickly. And fortunately, he and I had plenty to talk about, not only on air but off air as well. Great guy, actually, really, really smart. You know, he's 71, I believe, at this point. And he doesn't look a day over 50, so good on him.
He lives. I think he was smart when he was younger. I think is how that works.
Well, and we talked about it actually, because you know, we talked about, you know, when he tours, he's able to do four shows a week, which is a good, you know, young bands. A lot of them do 5, but there are some legacy bands that he brought up, that he mentioned to me, that can only do 2, maybe 3 shows a week, because their lead singers are incapable of giving much more than that. So yeah, he's taking care of himself in a lot of ways. And but no, he was a good chat. Not necessarily what I would expect from you know, the FanX experience, but that's kind of nice, that they do go outside the box a little bit. So yeah, I mean, you know, it wasn't one of those things that I ever really thought about doing, but when the opportunity came, I was really excited to do it.
Oh yeah, you have to take advantage of that when it happens. For people out there that don't listen regularly, Ryan does have a day job. He works for a local CBS affiliate.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to link any of the stuff they have on their website that Ryan did, so that you guys can get to it. He also has a nice interview with Dan Farr that I linked. I posted on Twitter.
Mm.
Dan Farr, one of the co-founders and organizers. We'll probably get to that in a second. But yeah, so we'll post that so you get that, because there's a lot of good stuff. I have to say that I'm happy that at least I got to go to a panel this time.
Sure.
Which often case is not the case, because it's like there's so many guests that, unlike Ryan, I don't see throughout the year, that I need to go see. But I did get to go see John Cleese's panel. Which,
yeah, unfortunately, that was up against my Ty Sheridan. So
I'll tell you, he toured last year with the 800th anniversary of the Holy Grail, and he came through Salt Lake. And my wife, God bless her, is not a huge Monty Python fan, but she knows I am, so she bought me tickets to that. We went to see that. We watched the movie. We watched him do the Q&A. So there was a lot of overlap and a lot of new stuff.
Mm.
But somebody pointed out, and I mean, I was in there, I know, but apparently he was like the first guest in the Grand Ballroom to drop. He might not have dropped the first, but he dropped a liberal helping of F-bombs, which, if you listen to this podcast a lot, you know that I don't have a problem with.
Well, you know,
some people do.
Well, maybe. Yeah, I suppose on what you were expecting him. You know, if you only know him from Holy Grail, I suppose that might be shocking. But if you're familiar with Monty Python's body of work, or his body of work, I don't know. I mean, first of all, the British use the word more liberally than we have in America for much longer. I think we've caught up in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But culturally speaking, it wasn't as taboo, or hasn't been as taboo for quite some time, particularly when it comes to comedy and humor.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm sure there were a lot of people who were surprised to hear that, and there were probably some kids in the audience who had their ears covered.
There were some earmuffs, I think, after that.
But I don't think he was the first. I'm trying to think back. But because I know he's not the first. Let me just put it that way.
No, but I think he's the most liberal.
He may be. That may be.
Barrowman. I don't know if Barrowman does.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. You know, it was a Bruce Campbell, or it was a Ron Perlman.
Bruce Campbell did not. Because I was there. Bruce Campbell said shit a couple times, but he always said it to set up the "ooh, I meant shoot" joke. So I really do not remember hearing Bruce Campbell say "fuck" at all.
All right. Anyway, it doesn't matter really.
But But yeah,
it wasn't me, so my mother's proud.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, Cleese launched him early enough, but his stories were great. He has trouble with the American audiences because FanX briefs people. Get up there, ask your question, and step aside and get your answer. And he would get angry, or seemingly angry, because people weren't there while he was answering. And he's like, "Well, where did they go? I'm trying to answer their question." Every time. So he'd get halfway through a story or an answer and then move on to the next question. So, but no, his panel's great. He's really funny. He tells terribly hateful stories about the rest of the Pythons, and you can tell they're all told with love. And for everyone out there, he did introduce a new term to my personal lexicon, and that is when something is really, really horribly dull, it is ass-achingly dull, which I found to be tremendously humorous. So that's going to work its way into my personal usage at some point. But no, so Cleese was a great panel. I got to talk to Adelaide Kane before the Salt Palace opened on Friday morning. Didn't have a lot of guests available, which that's becoming hit or miss for those easy gets.
Yeah, there's going to be some revision on that front for September.
Is there? That's good. That's good. I mean, I like the old press conference.
I don't know that we'll ever go back to the wang bang thank you whatever big press conference, but there will be some changes made to make some of those early guests a little more accessible.
Yeah, it would be nice. But she was great. I've got that video edited. I'm probably going to dump it in with this, but so it'll be linked on YouTube or where I don't know how it's going to get, but it's up. I've got audio and video of that. She's a very hyper person first thing in the morning, by the way. The photo ops ran great. If you were here last September, you know that wasn't the case. When the photo ops exploded or imploded, pick your scientific term of choice. This time they ran great. I didn't hear anyone really complaining. We got through 3 in 40 minutes because we had 3 20 minutes apart, and we managed to make all 3 of those, which was kind of nice because then we were done for the day. But that's pretty busy if you've ever been to an event like this. From a FanX specific standpoint,
sure,
I heard that there were a few people, and it's always a few people that are very vocal, that had issue with how ADA was handled, and I don't think I've ever heard that. That's like the one thing that has always seemed to be, it's like, well, that's a no-brainer. ADA goes in. And you don't have a problem with that. It's like, yes, please, move along. But then there's always but apparently a few ADA folks had issues. And conversely, a few quote-unquote VIP people also had problems about the ADA. I've covered this a million times. There's always one guy that thinks VIP means you're actually really important and get to do what you want, when in fact that's not the case.
Yeah, I hadn't heard any of that, but
it's just a couple, and they're really. But again, they're always the ones that whine the loudest.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I mean, for me, I've always been. Look, I'm not ADA. My attention to that sort of detail would probably not be 100% as much as someone who was, but I've always felt like they've been very accommodating. At least, my experiences have been that a lot of them get treated. Yes, do they get let in a little earlier? Yes, but come on, people, it's
especially especially when it's clear, because let's discuss for a second the ins and outs of ADA. You cannot ask people about their disabilities.
No. You
can ask them if they need accommodation.
Yes.
And that's pretty much the law. And that's basically all you get. Yes, you have to allow people, you have to make accommodation, but then yes, you're going to have people that are going to try to abuse that system because people suck. There's always a few that suck for everybody. But no, overall, okay, so let's go back to FanX. FanX was, I thought it was fun. I was physically able to do more this time, which on a personal note was great because I didn't die halfway through the event, as I have in the past. We'll finish up We are going to have a fall event, September, what is it, 5, 6, 7.
Yep.
Back to 3 days. And in the interview that I will link to that you talked to Dan Farr, he says they already have people booked.
Yep.
Which is great. We won't know about them for a while, but they already have people lined up, which is awesome.
And but actually, in the interview he talked about how there's always people who want to come back as soon as possible, and so there's always kind of a list of go-tos that they can, how long has it been since this person's been here, and all right, well, it's been 2 years, let's bring them back, sort of thing. Certain stars are completely immune to that sort of thing. I think if Chris Evans wanted to come every time, I don't think Chris Evans would be stopped at any point. But there are certain stars of a lower level of popularity that. But yes, so I think that they always more or less could put together a con really rather quickly based on the back catalog of people they've had come and who's done well and who wants to come back. So that's not really surprising, but it'll be at least a few months before we start hearing any of the names.
Okay, let's talk money for a second. Let's not talk con money. Let's not talk celebrity money. Let's talk the other half of that equation, and that's the vendors and the artists.
Sure.
2-day event anywhere, not just here, not as profitable as a 3-day event. Obviously, correct. They don't pay as much because it's a 2-day event, which is nice.
But the effort.
It's the exact same amount of effort because my daughter's an artist. I know she hasn't gotten her own table yet. She has been in the hip pocket of one of the artists that's been to all of these events. Travels out of state for events. She'll go with her. We get to hear all of that, and we know what goes into it in this house, at least. The one thing that I think is still that FanX specifically is lacking, and a lot of events are not, is that the artists just do not have enough room to actually do business. The vendors have, it's going to sound funny if you've ever done it, the vendors have plenty of room, even though you're swimming upstream half the time in the vendor area.
Sure.
They have plenty of room, but the artists still, all of their business is done in front of their tables. And there is just not enough of it. And that kills the artist. Because the vendors, like I said, the vendors have space. You can go into a vendor booth. You don't get to go into an artist booth. And that, again, that's just one of those things that I think FanX, if they want to start looking at helping the artists, both the local ones and the ones coming in, because there's a lot of ones that travel, because that's their income. They travel from event to event. And they sell their art. They've got to have space to do business. And that's still like the one complaint I hear people. It's like, not just the artists, but people going, I was trying to get over to Artist Alley. It was just too crowded. And, part of that is, people are looking at art, but it's like, more people need to be able to get in there and look at the art. That's my take on that. There was a nice mix of vendors, I think, this time. There's still a lot of repetition in the vending area when it comes to mass-produced stuff, but the more custom stuff, I think there's a nice there was a nice mix, at least this weekend. I don't know if you got a chance to look around.
No, I did. I don't tend to do a lot of buying at these things.
It's getting harder
partially because there's just not there's not a lot that I have room for in my little corner of the world.
Yeah, that's the problem I think everyone eventually hits, is that you just flat run out of space.
And and as I've gotten older, I've had to limit my obsessions and what I collect and what I don't collect, and et cetera, just not just based on room, but economics and everything else.
Oh yeah,
I thought the mix was okay. There wasn't anything that I got really excited about. It seemed fairly typical, but again, I'm not one who does a lot of shopping when I'm there to begin with, so that's not something that I feel really overly qualified. Although I will say the people I talked to seemed to, the vendors that I talked to were pleased with the turnout and what was happening, and so as far as I can tell, that went well.
But again, overall, I think FanX went pretty well. Like I said, the legitimate complaints I haven't heard a ton of. There's always the squeaky wheels. My personal experience, like I said, I tried, again, because I'm still a fan first. If I go through photo ops and I don't have any problems and I don't hear people in line talking about problems, I think things are okay. Spend a lot of time watching autograph lines and seeing how those people are, and I'll talk to people that I'm not in lines for. I'll talk to the people that are waiting for them and go, how's it going? How long you been waiting? And, see how they're feeling, gauge the crowd. And I think overall that side of the house worked pretty well this time. Hopefully we get some, I feel like they're going to try to blow out September. Funny feeling, just that lineup where everyone go, that Chris Evans, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Haley Atwell, that type of line, where you're just like, dang, nicely done.
I think they'd like to.
Well, I think they'd have those four back, but
No. I mean, in general, I think they'd love to present a lineup that was along those lines.
Yeah, but it takes some effort.
Well, and the fact that they had all four of those guys at once really was, looking back, a really fortunate and stars aligning sort of thing.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, but I think they were good and they got lucky.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do. It's hard to get a read. Anyone who's big who might come, there's no way they're locking them in until months down the road. They might get soft yeses or we're considering it sort of things, but there's too many schedules to work out.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't expect any. Well, September, so August, July. If you see an A+ lister before the 4th of July.
No, it's not going to happen.
No, that would have to be like literally like the hardest yes ever. Literally they're on break. They just finished filming and they're on a break and they know they're going to be free. That would be the only way. And
I don't see that. I think they're you won't see big names till after July at the soonest, I don't think.
Yeah. We'll get some probably. We'll probably see teases by Memorial Day, but we won't probably get a name until end of June, before we see any names. That's my guess, except for Jess Harnell. You just pencil him in. Unless Zachary Levi wants to come back again, because apparently he just calls and goes, and they go, yeah, here's your table. I just think he flew in early again. What's up with that? He did an extra half a day.
I don't know. Well, he likes it.
I know that's got to be the coolest thing.
But he also makes an extra day is another amount of money for him. But there are a lot of the artists who really genuinely enjoy interacting with their fans as well. So the combination of getting paid to do that and getting to do something they enjoy, it's probably really hard to turn down. Now there are people who feel that they're forced to do these sort of things and they're not nearly as enjoyable or as much fun and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know that. Shazam, #1 movie in the world for a couple weeks. It only makes sense for him to come to a friendly environment and celebrate that a little bit as well. So
yeah, the social media presence here, he knew what he was coming back to. I don't think he really understood the first time, even though it was just as rabid on social media for him. I don't think he really, really got it. But he knew exactly what he was coming back to this time. And I think he dug it. I think that's why he did it. So I'm ready for September, even though I could barely walk Sunday morning when I tried to get out of bed. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I did. I walked 80 miles the last 2 days. But yeah, I'm ready for September, except I'm going to Dallas in another 2 weeks for that one. So we'll do some more walking those 2 days, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, and as a quick aside, that weekend also, 2 Saturdays from now, free comic book day. Go to your comic book store, get your free comics.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. This week, Avengers Endgame.
Which apparently is not the end of Phase 3.
No, I saw the headline. I'm like, that was kind of a misleading headline. Avengers Endgame is not the end of Phase 3. Well, what is the end of Endgame 3 or Phase 3?
Well, apparently it's Spider-Man, but we already knew that that's kind of a problem, that we already knew Spider-Man was coming back.
Yeah.
It kind of undercuts the dramatic tension of the final scene of the last movie. But yeah, that's not. I don't think. The thing is I don't know that they've got anything post Phase 3 really sorted as much as they'd like to.
No, I think they're going to throw some. I hope people understand the way I mean what I'm about to say. I think they're going to throw some stuff out there and see what works, and then they're going to build toward it, kind of like they did early in Phase 1.
Yeah, and the problem is Guardians 3 was supposed to be the big kickoff, and there were obviously things that happened there that have worked themselves out.
But now we are going to get Guardians 3. So,
but we're not going to get it until after he's finished Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
so
Suicide Squad. Yes.
So there's it's the sort of thing where schedules have to get sorted out again, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Kevin managed himself out of a box, but into a hexagon.
Maybe
on this one, so we'll see. But I think they're going to throw some stuff at the wall and see what gives them the biggest bounce. But they'll have ideas for what they're throwing. But I think they'll wind up tailoring it once they see what works and what doesn't.
And we don't know what the Black Widow film is going to be, if that fits into any of the phases, or if that's kind of a film that fits in somewhere outside of all that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe not everything needs to be so interconnected. It's nice to have some movies that are, but I don't know that everything needs to be.
No, same universe, not same story.
Yeah,
that's the kicker. Or that's the key. So, all right. So, so Endgame, we'll try to do... I'm hoping we can record our review of that Friday afternoon. And we may have special guest again, depending on how that schedule works out.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so that schedule, that special guest is dependent, but hopeful. Better than 50-50, I think. So,
cool.
So, yes. So, next episode will be Avengers Endgame. And then we will move along from there. That's it for FanX and all the other associated garbage that we tacked on the end there for you. Ha 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 ha. Till next time, I'm Mark. That's Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you guys.
And we will talk to you all later.